Hey guys, so since we recorded this video, unfortunately things have changed with GaryCon, obviously like with it closing and stuff like that. So unfortunately, that does mean that a lot of the things we do talk about in this video aren't happening, at least for now. We talk about specifically an event that we are going to be doing with prominent people in the D&D community, and thus as a result, that is just being changed. So again, as I'll say later, go into the description to the pages for Geneva Lake Museum if you want to get any updates on what is happening for any of these events as they are going forward. Otherwise, stay healthy, and we'll see you next week. Frank, where are we? Let's hit every noisy thing we can.
I don't know. You put a bag over my head and then you took me through a door and now we're here.
And we're in this big table. We're in the Geneva Lake Museum.
Yes, it's so amazing here.
Yeah, and today we are joined by Beth, which she is the co-curator of the future Legacy of Imagination exhibit here at the Geneva Lake Museum.
And general awesome person.
And currently we are sitting at what, Beth?
We are sitting at the hammer. Darn it, I can't do it right anytime.
Sorry, you're
fine. You're good.
You're good.
We are sitting at the table that was donated by Hammered Games. Dan Fisher donated this to the exhibit. It is his original game table. So every nook and cranny and everything that you see, every scratch is from a game.
Yeah, the best. One of my favorite things that I noted when we were here, especially in those dice trays that are behind you guys right now, but they're at the DM section, is the clear signs of like every type of dice that has hit it. Because I especially looked at the table that we play at the game shop here in town, and I've always noticed that there's just a crap ton of these little dents of like spots where dice have been rolled, and you can see it on the dice trays. It's just super funny to me, and very notable.
Lots of deep divots.
Exactly.
Heavy metal dice.
I've never been more afraid of a table than I am of this one.
Well, then you probably have noticed we're a little. The table's a little tall, but that's because actually you can't see it right now. But we'll have a little visuals up for you that I took when I took B-roll of the table for their Kickstarter video. But it does sink in, and there definitely at some point there will be terrain in here.
There will be.
Oh.
Yeah. So who is doing the terrain for you?
So we're actually getting terrain donated by Stefan of Dwarven Forge. And
talk to us, by the way.
wait, what?
You don't have to look at the camera.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm so bad at
We're
this.
ignoring you.
So yes, Stefan from Dwarven Forge is actually going to be donating some terrain for the museum, which for the exhibit. So we're super excited about it because one of the really awesome parts about the exhibit is not only is this table going to be in there because it's a gaming table and it's amazing and the people have played at it and the history of it, but you're also going to be able to have the opportunity to play in the space surrounded by the history.
No, you can't just roll up though and start playing.
No,
right? Yeah.
no, that is correct. You can't just like show up with your dice and be like, "Hey, I'm here to play."
Who's
during
gaming?
Business hours. No, it's not quite like that. But just like we rent out the museum for dinners and weddings and things like that, you can rent out the space for a special event, someone's birthday, bachelor party, bachelorette party, whatever you want to do. So,
or if you're a sick RPG playing YouTube channel and you want to play on a cool table,
you want to play here.
unlike us who make no money.
No. But that's a given. Look at us.
Look at us. We wear the branding of other shows.
It's a really comfortable sweater.
I mean, that's how I feel about my Monster X sweater. So I mean, I can't judge too hard.
Oh, but yeah, no. This is my first time being in the Geneva Lake Museum, and I've lived in Lake Geneva for a considerable few years. This place is amazing. I was walking around. I was a bit I was a bit frightened by the fact that there were like
It's
mannequins.
dark and there's mannequins?
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Two
Night
things.
in the
yeah, it's
museum
closed today.
situations.
Yes. Oh man.
The museum is closed today, hence why there are no lights on.
It's not like a haunted house that you like come
Yeah.
in and it's like you got to find stuff to turn
A
on.
potential future like business endeavor.
I mean, we do have you can come for Halloween and you can trick or treat, so it is a lot
Haunted
of fun
house.
stuff like that.
Fantastic. But yeah, no, I'm walking around here and I like the atmosphere in here. It's just there's a bunch of cool things to look at, and I'm really excited that you guys are doing this effectively, getting this table, setting stuff up. I'm really ecstatic for it. It's something that I feel like is underappreciated here in Lake Geneva.
Well, especially the fact, and we talk about it in the Kickstarter video, which is that, D&D started here. Like, if people, I think, overlook the fact, like, people do make their their pilgrimages here, not privileges.
They're privileged to make the pilgrimage.
Exactly.
And like Gary Con is here, and I know because I don't know, Gen Con used to be here.
Correct.
But it's not anymore, and because it just got too big for the space to be here. And I guess at the time when they decided to move it, Milwaukee just, I guess, wasn't the option. Staying in Wisconsin at least wasn't the best option.
It did go to Parkside.
Yeah, well,
And
I
then
was
it
gonna
moved
say,
from
yeah, I
there,
know,
and then it
because
kinda-
I know
Right.
Mike talked about it. But yeah, but Gary Con at least has in Gen Con's wake is now here. Now that, though this was after Gary Gygax had passed, unfortunately. But it is still a great event, and there's gonna be stuff going on during Gary Con in this museum, right?
We do. Don't have many details yet to share.
That's perfectly fine.
But we do have a pretty legendary game that's going to be happening before Gary Con that there might be, like a Twitch stream that you can watch it on during Gary Con or before. So
for more on that, you can find their Kickstarter, which will be in the description below. And on that page, they'll have more information about the potential live stream
yes.
to come forward. But there's gonna be some cool people around during Gary Con this year.
Yeah. Like us.
Yes. I was like, are you trying to get me to tell you who else is coming?
No.
Well, we know who is coming to Gary Con already. To be fair, there are people who've already said that they're coming.
Okay.
Yeah, just to Gary Con.
Yes.
So
That'll hopefully come here.
Yeah.
That's true.
I know it was funny last year. I know Matthew Mercer sneakily visited Gary Con.
Oh my God, he did.
With zero announcement. Just kind of was just like
Showed up. Hey,
what's
guys.
up?
Looking at the Indies. I actually took a picture with him the last day, right before he went on his flight, and I was so happy.
Yeah, I was like, and then my message back to him was, I was like, what? You didn't tell him about Nat One? Like, I do a show.
Listen, when Matthew Mercer is in front of you, first things first, you think about
You
yourself.
shoot your shot. That's what you do.
But no, it's great because last year in Gary Con, I also had the privilege of seeing Joe Manganiello in the same room. I never talked to him or anything, but I just saw him from afar, and I looked over at the person I was with, and I said, "Have you ever seen a man so beautiful you just started crying?" And then I proceeded to start crying, and it was great. And it was another friend of mine told me, because I'm all about Joe Manganiello, that he was just walking around on the hall, and then he looked in the distance and saw a person he tried to recognize them, and they locked eyes, and it took him too long to realize it was Joe Manganiello that he was just locked eyes with, just staring at him.
Just fell into those eyes.
Exactly. And then my friend Tyler, who exists somewhere, just by the time he realized it, Joe Manganiello winked at him and then walked away. And
As in like Tyler?
Yeah.
Yes.
Our Tyler.
That's our Tyler.
Yes, I've heard our collective. Tyler is all of ours.
Yes. We all own the rights. We signed that contract.
Yes.
Slavery. Bad.
Well, but as I say, so there have been a lot of, but at least going back to the similar, because he's helped you guys out a lot.
Yeah.
With the table, Tyler, not Joey Manganiello.
I mean, if he wants to come help us move it, that would be fantastic. We need the muscle.
Joe.
Joe, come help us get this beauty in its home.
With
That
or
would be
without shirt, it's perfectly fine.
We're
As long
gonna
as
we're gonna
Sophia
try to
says it's okay.
tag at.
That's true,
We're gonna
yeah.
try to tag him at that. Hey, come help move this table. Because this will inevitably. What the room we are in is not the exhibit. If you couldn't tell by the weird maps of Lake Geneva in the back.
They're
No, I just
beautiful.
They are.
they'd be weirdly placed in a D&D based exhibit. And to be fair, the other thing I was going to get to is that the table this is moving into, this isn't necessarily this isn't purely a D&D exhibit.
Correct.
Yeah. What is it more like?
So in the exhibit, it's gonna be a mix of a couple different things. Obviously, so this is where TSR was started. So we're gonna take a look at the beginnings of TSR. We're gonna take a little bit of a look at Gary's early life and how he came to Lake Geneva, and then how it kind of grew from there. But it's gonna be fun because throughout the exhibit, we're actually gonna take a look at a couple different things in a timeline that you'll actually be able to look and see how the town played into certain things and how TSR played into certain things, and then how Gary weaved his life in and out and around there. But we're also going to be looking at some of the other people that were there to help start the company. I mean, obviously, we're going to talk about David Arneson and Dave Wesley. We're going to talk about, Blackmore, Bromstein, Greyhawk, all the original campaigns, and kind of talk in and around that. But we have a lot of local artists that still live in the area that we're going to be able to feature some of the art. We're going to have, artifacts and miniatures and dice and paperwork. And
Yeah, because there's been a lot of donations from people that have kind of been holding on to, I will say timepieces in history.
Little bits of and the beautiful thing is we have had a couple of pieces that have been donated to the museum, and then we also have a handful of items that are actually going to be on loan to the museum, which is fantastic, because what that means is, I mean, the game in and of itself is like a living thing, in whatever your campaign is, how it changes, how it corresponds with pop culture, stuff like that. So the goal is every 2 to 3 years we're actually going to update the exhibit. I don't know if update's the right word, but we're going
Shift things around.
Yeah, we're going to take a new look at maybe a different aspect of the game. So when we're first starting out, we're going to really look at the creation of the game, fan favorites and things like that will stay in the exhibit. But then items that are on loan, they'll go back to their home, and we'll be able to get new items to come in for people to check out. So if you make your privileged pilgrimage every year to come to GaryCon, you'll be able to see something fun, new, and exciting when you come in every couple of years to check it out and keep it a living, breathing, because exhibits should not be stagnant. They should.
Yeah, exactly. I'm very excited for the fact that there's now going to be several places to bless your dice at, because I know there's been a lot of people who, and I see this on Reddit a lot, just who come to Lake Geneva, to the Riviera, to that one block with the D20 on it in memory of Gary Gygax, and just put their dice on it, and it's supposed to recharge the battery. Now they can bring it here.
Yeah, well, obviously, because that's one memorial, and then even potentially, if somebody has the one way around it, people are going to be able to play here, obviously in an official way, but that potential is still there. So it's there are many ways within this exhibit to really kind of honor the basis of the game and give people just a new experience, whether it's just experiencing the history and the look of the world, but then even potentially even being able to play in something that even itself is a little piece of history, which of this table being the first one, correct?
Yes, Hammered Game Tables. This is his very first table he ever created. Stephen Pokormy, Stefan Pokormy, please edit that out. Make sure I put the right name in there. Stefan.
It would definitely be edited out.
He
You corrected yourself.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
But Stefan has the second table, so it's pretty exciting. And Hammered Games is the company that made the table that was at the 50-yard line at the Indianapolis Colts Stadium for Gen Con 50.
Oh my god! Oh,
So Dan is an amazing.
Man,
He's so much fun.
Playing D&D on the 50-yard line. What a
it's the nerds have the what is it? Not Revenge of the Nerds. They've officially taken over the
Yes.
football stadium.
They better have been doing some type of Western campaign. If they're going to be surrounded by the big horseshoe that's the Colts logo in the middle.
I don't know. You can ask Stefan because he actually ran that game. So I can ask him when
I
he's
can
here.
see a football style D&D game happening.
Well, I just even meant like because it's the Colts logo is just a big horseshoe.
Yeah. One of the
So
teams can be.
it could have just been a Western.
Yeah. That
It didn't
works
have to
too.
be a football related one.
I mean, there are gunslingers now, depending on which.
That's true.
Which
Anyhow,
you're
or
looking
even
at,
just
so.
or even just the artificer exists. Now that exists
Right.
in the 5th edition, but I think one of the big things we talked about. So we'll say it for you, so you don't have to say it. But you'll know people who have seen the Kickstarter video and maybe are coming here after the fact or something like that. They may notice that we didn't. There's a lot of wordplay happening in that. And a lot of it's just because of, that being more of a marketing piece. There's there's legal hangups that exist with that. Hence why at the moment in this time, since we don't know exactly when this is going to come out, we also don't, and we're not obviously laying out everything that's going to exist.
Correct.
Because there are some things that have to be showcased when they come in. But so this is also somewhat of an opportunity for us to be able to speak in a more free matter, because this is our podcast.
Yeah.
We're talking about things that we know exist. So when we say, hey, this is, there's a lot of things like D&D in this exhibit, it's just because, hey, we're just stating facts that we know that TSR invented D&D. It's part of the benefit that we, in the state that we currently exist in. So we're just abusing our innate independence.
That's true.
Yes, we live in a great state of independence right now. So
That's fair, yeah. Marshall, you might not know this, but Harold Johnson? He used to be part of TSR a long time ago. He owns a bookstore in Lake Geneva.
Red Loaf, yeah.
Yeah.
Red Loaf Bookstore.
It's
I don't know all of the places in Lake Geneva, so yeah, I don't know exactly what everyone's doing nowadays.
That's fair. But yeah, no, I've spoke with him a couple times, even worked with him a little bit. He's a really great guy. Hopefully he stops by here and looks around and tells us how
story.
great everything is.
He was actually here last week.
What?
He came in and he was, we showed him the exhibit, what we have so far. And then
Yeah.
he came in and saw the table. So yeah, Harold was in last week
Oh, man.
to check it out. And then Mike Carr is in here quite often. He's been a really good touch point. So the, original cleric.
Oh, there we
Yeah,
go.
Has been in,
another a thing that we are still going to try to work into making that another future podcast. So stay tuned for that. As he essentially play tested what would become the most powerful class in D&D. Do you want to bully Tiamat at level 5? Just be 5 clerics. So one of the things that I was inevitably going to get to with the D&D thing is the kind of the fact that obviously, yeah, we skirt around it a little bit in the video, so that's kind of your explanation as to maybe why it doesn't come up all too often. I think TSR inevitably gets mentioned once because we remembered within the shooting that we can say TSR. But it doesn't come up too often. But obviously, in the exhibit, because it'll have the benefit of being in a historical context,
Yep.
that it will exist, or that we can that you'll see the name somewhat there. But this isn't. But this exhibit isn't meant to just be some type of hey, look, D&D existed. There's a lot more to this, right?
Yeah. We're going to look at one of the things that people think about. They might think about, they might not, is, there's a satanic panic from the 80s that came along with it. So we're going to, we're going to touch on that. And if Tom Hanks wants to stop by and stand next to the movie poster of Amazing Monsters, let's be honest.
That would be amazing.
That would be amazing. So, so we're going to we want to look at all aspects of it because when you look at how not just the game that created, but everyone, like the people's lives that were around it. There was a lot of interesting stuff that happened, and not just with that, but also within the town's history. Little snidbit that some people might not know about TSR is they actually helped. I'm not going to say exactly what it is, but because you can come to the exhibit and check it out.
Exactly.
But they did help with a very significant, not restoration, but recovery of a very important piece of Lake Geneva history.
Really?
That involves scuba diving and men in really short 70s cut off shorts. Like some of the pictures are, they're fantastic. And some of the pieces are actually in the Smithsonian now. So, yeah.
Right.
And then, so pieces of it are actually in the Smithsonian now. So it's actually pretty cool. So, and TSR was a part of it. And that's actually one of the things that really got me looking is I found some of the paperwork in our archives.
Ooh.
So
it's similar to old basketball shorts. Like 70s like swimwear is depending on the person that's wearing it, is either very pleasing or very not.
Oh no! It's not swimwear. It's like blue jean.
Oh
cut off blue jeans. Like
exactly. So what we're saying is, if you want a recreation of that photo,
oh God, no!
Make sure you like and subscribe.
Yes,
Ring that bell.
Do it.
Ring that bell for cut off shorts, baby. One of the other things I was going to somewhat get into that I feel like the exhibit's going to kind of lead into as well is that we do talk in a very generic way where we obviously for reasons we avoid the name. We avoided labeling the name of D&D and whatnot. But the big thing about like Gary and TSR and making D&D is that it spawned a whole existence of RPGs. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, Pathfinder probably doesn't really exist without D&D being made the way it is, and like from that beginning. So it's not even just, so like this exhibit isn't just going to be looking at like just TSR and D&D, but really a culture and bringing a whole culture together, like a gaming culture.
As in the title, Legacy of Imagination, creation of a culture. Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really something that's very exciting because sometimes like you'll hear people like, obviously like Joe is one of them that like he credits like a lot of his writing or like experience like that, or even Stephen Colbert or
right. Yeah.
Anderson Cooper, like they talk about like when they were younger and playing and like helping develop writing, or even people like Name of the Wind, Patrick Rothfuss.
Rothfuss.
Which actually he's also a pointer, so we graduated from UW Stevens Point.
Really?
So yeah. But people like that they talk about
the
how
unsung
like,
hero that is Wisconsin.
Yes, if you have not read that book, you should pitch for Name of the Wind. And hey, when's that third book coming out? Because that would be amazing.
I am waiting for the third book as well. I'm just.
We'll put it in the gift shop if you bring it.
Yeah, Patrick.
Well, so
we know you're in the state.
So that brings up a solid point. People will be able to see on the Kickstarter, obviously, like what will inevitably be all the tiers and stuff. But what are some of the things that when they come here that people will be able to get? Like, what are you going to add to the gift shop and stuff like that?
Obviously, first and foremost, we're actually going to be having custom dice that we're going to have in. Yes, we're very excited. And we can officially say who we're working with on the dice. So we're actually going to be working with Die Hard Dice. Is going to be our manufacturer. We're going to be working with them, and they're working on, should actually be getting our prototypes in the mail within the next couple of days.
I'm just saying, I'm always a proponent of more shiny math rocks. So
exactly. Yes.
All of the math rocks.
We're going to be, and so we're going to be able to have the prototypes that will be in the gift shop and the ones that will be Kickstarter exclusive at GaryCon. ? Hopefully. So, provided we can get them in, we're going to be able to have, so we'll have examples of that so people can actually see what they're going to look like and all that kind of stuff. So.
I cannot wait to see them so I can buy all of them. But
you got to support the Kickstarter if you want those dice.
That's true. All right. I guess I will.
The name of those is those are the founders.
Well,
spoils.
we are.
Yes.
We're doing.
Here we
We're
go.
gonna do it. That's all we're gonna do. Yeah. So we're gonna be so yes, obviously, custom dice is one of the things we're gonna have because it is very important and it's fun. And we're gonna be having full sets of dice. We're also gonna be having oversized D20s, so you can. Whether you want to play with them or you want them to kind of like collect them when you come.
When we finally do that variety show idea we've been sitting on forever, we'll be able to use it.
Exactly. If you would just want to bludgeon your enemy with a massive D20 for irony's sake.
It's not going to be that big. We want it to be playable, but still distinctly.
I mean, though, I've held the oversized ones that are even just like this big. Like,
like
you
the
know,
55
palms.
millimeter ones that are like
Well, they even
baseballs?
they're like the size of your palm, like just your palm.
I own one. I know.
Yeah, well, I own one too. I also own one, and it's not that heavy.
I don't have one.
But
yet.
it's enough so that if I threw it at Franny's head, it'd probably hurt.
Yeah, he's done it more than once. It's why I'm like this.
Oh.
Got to keep him in line somehow.
Keep them on track. So we're gonna have dice in the shop. We're also gonna have some T-shirts. Yes, a couple different styles. We're also gonna have some kids T-shirts. We might not necessarily have them right away, but
It's gonna have your awesome mascot.
It is. It's gonna. You want me to talk about our dragon that I named?
Well, it's got to come up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who is Kevin?
If you hear updates from Kevin, so Kevin is actually the name I gave our dragon.
And I love the name Kevin for a dragon.
So there was a lot of stuff going back and forth, and we were coming up with the logo for the museum and the exhibit that we wanted to go along with it to mimic our museum logo. And there was so many different versions that I just like my favorite one, the one that we liked the best, I just named him Kevin. And it stuck. So
There he is.
So I
Kevin
mean, now
exists
that
now.
everyone knows that, maybe I'll just talk in the third person as this is Kevin giving you an update from the
Updates
Geneva
from
Lake
Kevin.
Museum.
That's perfect. You know the escalation there is eventually you're going to have to get a mascot uniform of just Kevin.
I actually
It'll be like
asked
that.
them if we could get a blow up dragon for the front of the museum.
Yes!
Let's somehow make a collab with MSI. They had Lucky the dragon. Let's see if they can donate
Kevin.
a Kevin and Lucky together.
Yes. Oh, man.
So
They can donate that to the museum. That's sponsor for them, and hey, we've got two dragons.
yeah, but the Kickstarter dragon also has his own name as well. Everyone, all the dragons are named because it's easier to talk about them. Because we have a gold dragon that is for our Kickstarter.
Ah, yes.
Oh, yes.
That is Doug.
Doug.
Doug, the immaculate gold dragon.
Exactly.
Well, so Doug would have to be the one really doing the updates for the Kickstarter, at least.
True. Doug would be doing the Kickstarter updates. Kevin would be doing the updates for everything else.
It's true.
So
Because
we
the Kickstarter is going to come and go, but this exhibit is going to stay.
Exactly.
And thus it needs Kevin.
and that's it needs Kevin. So any voice actors want to come do Kevin?
There we go.
Hey.
Hey,
Oh my god, that'd be so
That would be
funny.
amazing.
Mr. Mercer. I'm kidding. But for some strange reason, while we were talking about Kevin,
we're calling you out, Matt. Come be Kevin.
but for some strange reason, while we were talking about Kevin, I just imagined him standing there with Duffy the Dolphin from the elementary school here, just over his head.
That was a local reference I did not get.
It's what I get for living here for a while, okay? I just think of these random things about our town. But yeah, I miss Duffy the Dolphin. But yes, Kevin sounds amazing.
I don't remember if any of my elementary schools had a name for our mascot. Like, I don't remember that.
We had Eagles.
Eagles?
And Eagles. But I went through a K through 12 school, so it didn't really change.
That's fair.
Ah.
Yeah, they gave us money with they were called Duffy dollars.
Dolphin dollars?
Yes.
Then you
Oh
guys-
my. We bought so much candy from it. Too much. I should not have bought that many. But yeah, no, I'm just imagining Kevin just throwing
So,
Duffy
like-
into the lake.
Oh, I thought you meant like Kevin dollars that you could like.
No, yeah.
I
We can
don't-
do that.
Hey, don't give an ADHD kid a new path to run down because I will run down it so fast, and then next thing you know, we're like it
Well,
goes. it's
fortunately,
pretty-
That's bad.
a dragon mascot's infinitely better than my high school mascot.
Which
so,
was?
an insensitive name.
Oh,
Not as bad as Washington, but still not correct.
still not correct.
We just had a rocket for my high school.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
We could have been like in one of our other schools in our conference and just been the lasers. Who's going to be offended by lasers? Lasers are cool.
What is the mascot? Like, what do you like?
They gave him a name, and essentially it's just a dude with like a laser. Like essentially, it might as well have just been like a laser pointer, but it's supposed to be a laser beam. You know what? They made do with what they had. You know, I'll be honest. Lasers as a mascot's infinitely better than wizards. I know wizards are cool and all, but like as a basketball team, come on, Washington.
I was gonna say, wait, you're calling someone out on this? Who is it? I'm not up on my end.
But you know what? If we had a mascot that was a wizard, that makes sense.
That would make sense for
That would-
Lake
but-
Geneva.
yes.
Hey,
A basketball
Badger
team.
High School. You should look into.
Yeah.
We should start a petition
Yeah.
to change it to the
Stop.
Badger Wizards.
Oh my
Yeah.
God!
Could you
Yeah,
imagine a badger in a wizard
they're-
costume?
that would be so
Yeah.
amazing.
Stop getting away with copyright infringement on University of Madison. Be original. Have a wizard.
Exactly. Or just make it a warlock if you want to avoid a wizard one. Nobody uses warlocks.
Well, the word wizard isn't copyrighted. Just wizards of the coast is copyrighted.
That's fair.
Gotta respect the copyrights, though.
That's true.
Yeah. But to be fair, so high schools are allowed to somewhat get away with it. That's why you'll see high schools with like definitely the Minnesota Vikings logo.
Yeah. I've
They
seen
can
that.
actually school like high schools, elementary schools, all that. They can get away with that stuff.
So is it because they're government entities?
No, most of it actually has to do with the fact that they aren't for profit. But most high schools are nonprofit.
Are we nonprofit?
The museum?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
but
Yes. The museum is a nonprofit museum.
That means we're good. We can use the Vikings logo.
We are.
it's
I'm just gonna say this: boo, hiss, boo. I am a diehard Packer fan. No
That's fair.
Viking thing will ever.
But
do
I-
us.
Bears fan, I accept you.
the main thing
I
is
grew up in Illinois. I'm
the
sorry.
main thing is
better
the
watch
idea of
yourself,
elementary schools going
Fair.
through it it's not that's something that is more of like a recent thing that they have allowed schools to get away with. It was not always the case. There are many years where the NFL would sue like high schools and stuff
Right.
for using logos, like, and it's more just that because that is more of like the NFL gave the discretion to the individual teams to make the decision of their property, because the NFL is actually just in a conglomerate of 32 businesses.
That's fair.
Which is, for example, Wizards, being its own business, had to make their decision of what they want to allow. For example, for the Kickstarter video here and stuff like that. You know, obviously they've been pretty lenient about independent like streams, just being like, "Hey, we're playing D&D." Like Twitch has a specific D&D category and stuff like that. So like, they at least have some leniency for independence and like people like us.
Yes.
We are very lucky though, because we've worked with them and we have a really good relationship with Wizards
Yeah,
of the Coast,
it's just-
and we're very it's awesome to
Yeah,
see their
and that's
support.
why like people
So-
shouldn't like when we talked about the fact that Wizards like was like, you know, hey, careful about the promotional material. They shouldn't go against Wizards for that.
It makes sense.
It's just legal things are legal things and lawyers are lawyers.
Yes.
That always will be the case, and it's just the nature of the world and the industry as itself. Like even anywhere you go in the industry, these things will happen.
Well, it's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that like even as like a traditional player, and that's the thing, like coming into it, one of the things that I do play D&D. I've been playing officially for a year now, which is super fun.
Congratulations.
And I love it. It's great. And is that my cousin makes fun of me because I know more about the actual history of the game than how to play the game. So I'm like learning how to. So I'm like, you know, still on a learning curve for that. And obviously it's a game that you will continue to learn your entire life, which is the beauty of it, because you're constantly learning new things and the lore and the monsters and all the fun stuff. But it's just it's really funny because as like I said, an example, my cousin, he's played for 18 years, which I know there's people obviously who's been playing for a much longer time, but he's the one that gives me the hard time. They're not the ones that give me the hard time, so I'm calling him out on it, Adam.
Adam.
Adam, get your stuff together.
If you want to attack anybody, just let us know. We're right behind you.
But that just and being a player, but like having like knowing all the history and everything that comes behind it, and then seeing and that, like you said, like what are the different things that we're going to talk about in the exhibit? There are some things that are not very pretty. We're not going to focus a lot on them,
Right.
but they are important pieces of the history of the game and of the culture. And
There
of
is
it
a
and how
reason
it
that
became.
TSR doesn't exist
So-
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the things that that people forget, that when you're working with that there is, like Marshall said, there are legal things, there are behind the scenes things that, I mean, like you come in and you look at a museum exhibit, and this is probably one of the most challenging. I mean, besides the one with the mouse. I don't know if Disney, can we talk about that? I don't know what that is, but there are certain entities that do, and they have a right to protect their merchandise and their stuff, and it is for doing an exhibit is definitely an exciting challenge because of the some of the restrictions that are put on, because it is trademarked, and then it is trademarked by certain things, and then there are key phrases that we have to use, and that's like one of the things with any publications we do, particularly any print, whether it's print or reading,
Some post on Facebook.
post
Yeah.
books, stuff like that, is that we have to make sure that everything is correct, and we want it to be correct so that everyone is represented correctly and legally and how we're supposed to do it. So that is something that people might come into the exhibit and be like, well, why didn't you do this, and why didn't you do that, and there's this, and it's like we gave the absolute, we did the absolute
Everything we
best
could.
we could,
Exactly.
everything we did, and that it is exciting and it is fun, and trust me, I wake up every morning and the first thing I think about is the exhibit, and I go to sleep thinking about the exhibit because it's great and I love it and I'm super excited to do it, and it's taken over my life. So
Perfect.
for the last 9 months.
just like D&D.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So we're going to be hitting the end of our episode here. Is there anything else you'd just kind of like to a shout out and announce for the campaign, this exhibit? Like the Kickstarter campaign in this exhibit.
Anything at all. If
say,
you want to do another attack, by all means, we're still backing you up on that, but it's up to you.
Yeah, just anything you want to throw out there for everybody.
I was gonna say, my dearest brother, you were the cleric, and Mike was very upset that the first campaign I ever played, you let me die. As a cleric, it's your job to heal me before we go into the dungeon. So yeah, there's that.
Yep.
Obviously, love you, Micah. But yeah, we're super excited for everything that's going on and the new exhibit that's coming in, and it is unlike anything else that's in this museum. It is in and of itself the first of its kind in a permanent setting.
Yes.
The Gary Con, Paul Stormberg has the amazing setup that he did for Founders and Legends that they did at the Gary Con, which is at Gen Con, which is amazing, and to be able to work with him on that is great. But to be able to have a permanent exhibit that we can keep the stuff here so people can
its
come
home,
in
especially.
and have it in the home where it started. So we're really excited and thankful for that. And just as please be understanding as we're rolling out the Kickstarter stuff. Never done a Kickstarter before, working on that, trying to get everything in place so that we have all the accurate information for people, and making sure that everything that we're putting out there is the highest quality, because if I wouldn't purchase it, I want to make sure it's not, that it's something that if I would get it myself, that it's something that you guys would get. So making sure that the quality is good, and making sure we have sizes for everyone in the gift shop. So we're going to have different larger sizes in the gift shop to make sure that everyone can be included in everything. And the main thing with the Kickstarter, people might be like, well, why are you starting it so low? We started the Kickstarter at $5. And that gets your name in the legacy book online, which that's one of our levels that we're going to do. We have a couple other ones. But the reason we started it there is because this is a game of community, and this exhibit is created for the community by the community. And so by starting it there, anyone and everyone that this game has meant something to, your math teacher taught you so you'd get better at your fractions, or it's something that you weren't really good with big groups of people, and by joining D&D it helped you get over, or not get over, but helped you manage whether it's anxiety or depression, being able to be with people and around people, that you can be a part of this, because we just happen to be the place it's being created, but it's your exhibit. So that's just kind of the biggest thing. So we can't wait to see you.
Exactly.
Cannot wait for you guys to come visit.
That was wonderfully said.
So
Yeah, and so if you want to be able to check that out, you guys will be able to find all of the links to everything that they have in the description. So their Facebook page, I believe you guys are going to be attempting to roll out some type of Instagram.
There's the museum Instagram.
Yeah.
So the Geneva Lake
we'll have
Museum.
we'll have all of their socials and ability to contact them in the description below, as well as if this comes out before the Kickstarter. When that Kickstarter is out, it will be in the description. So make sure, if anything, you can always check back for that. Otherwise, we will be doing our share of helping to promote it as well. So you can tune in for that. You will definitely, this will not be the last you will see of us within this museum and with anybody within this museum.
Mm-hmm.
So if you would like that, you can definitely hit that subscribe button to be able to see more coming out in the future. It's going to be awesome. And then definitely make sure you check out their pages. Otherwise, we will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
You know what
Yes.
you missed just
much.
before you came back?
Hit me with it.
We got the announcement for Theros.
Oh my God, yes.
So I think I talked briefly about some of the recent UA and stuff in one of our the last episode, I believe.